Marriage is so complex. It is so complex, so complicated. Can you imagine you got one person who already doesn't get along with themselves all the time, you, me, decides to team up with another person, and then they decide to put a ring together, full-on commitment, and on top of that, now they don't get along with each other and they don't get along with themselves. They decide to have kids, and maybe 2 of them. If they're crazy, maybe 3 or more. Then comes the in-laws. Then each of them have aspirations. He has his own idea what life and success looks like. She has her own. Maybe they share common values and principles, and then they live. And watch what happens with this, okay? So let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're someone who's married, and you want to do something big in your life. And you're determined. You're like, I have to go make X, Y, Z happen in my life. You're ambitious. And that's going to require a certain level of focus and determination and sacrifice or whatever you need to do. But your family's not with it. So then it comes to a moment that you got to have a conversation with your wife or your husband. And you sit there and you say, I want to be an entrepreneur. She has no desire. You want to be an entrepreneur. He has no desire. So let's first make the one move, which is what? You know what? Okay, babe, you're right. We have an okay life. Why should I give everything I got? Why should I pursue my dreams? Why should I pursue our dreams for our kids? Why? Your family's putting a lot of pressure on me. You're putting a lot of pressure on me. My parents are putting a lot of pressure on me. Maybe the right thing to do is to conform and make you happy, make my parents happy, and make your parents happy. And my kids have no clue what happy means, but they just want to see more of me. So maybe make them happy. Okay. I think I made the right choice. My pastor would probably tell me to do something like that, and I go with it. Say at the time when I do that, I'm 40 years old. Say I'm 25 years old. 10 years goes by, 20 years go by, 30 years go by. I'm in a similar situation. Life is boring. I made the safe decision. I made everybody happy, except for one person. Now I'm 65. And in my mind, the number one enemy in my life is who? The person that prevented me from pursuing my dreams and aspirations that I had. And who's that enemy? My wife, or my husband, or my parents, or your parents, or a little bit of the kids held me back from pursuing my aspirations. So then there's a dinner, and you're 70 years old, and everyone's sitting around the dinner, and everyone's having conversations together. Okay, and you're sitting there by yourself, and you're a little bit bitter, you're a little bit upset. You're not saying anything. Somebody comes up to you and says, Grandpa, Grandma, what's up? You look upset, you look angry. In your mind, you're saying, if I would have pursued my dreams, God knows where I would have been today. And you're bitter. Do you think you're really going to tell your grandkids or your kids what you're upset about? I don't think so. So now, you may say, well, Pat, what are you saying? Is the solution leaving my wife, leaving my husband? Should I get a divorce? Is that what you're endorsing? No, it's not what I'm endorsing. So what are you saying? Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying have the tough conversation. What do you mean by the tough conversation? Let me break it down for you. Here's a tough conversation. Babe, we need to have a talk. When? Saturday night or Friday night? We need to get a babysitter. I need 6 hours of your time because we need to have a serious conversation. I don't want any interruptions. I don't want any kid interruptions. I don't want your parents, my parents, nobody. Just you and I. Okay, babe, what's going on? Is everything okay? Everything's okay. We just need a serious conversation. Or maybe if you don't have kids, you got to get away. You leave Saturday night, spend Sunday, and ask some questions. What's the question sound like? Here's what the question sounds like. I'll give you the formula. Babe, what does your dream life look like? What do you mean, babe? What does your dream life look like? What do you see? What do you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Babe, I mean, I just want to be with you. No, I know, babe, but what are your dream? What's your dream life? I don't know. I kind of would be okay if we just have I said, no, you, what is your dream? Who do you want to be? Well, I kind of would want to have an okay life, and as long as I can contribute. Okay, so that's what you want to do, yeah. Where do you want the kids to be? Sell me the vision on our kids. How do you visualize our kids? You want them to go to private school? You want them to have big aspirations? You want them to be just regular people working 9 to 5? Or do you aspire to see your kids one day running a business, being a CEO, doing something big, running for office? I don't know. What do you want to see your kids do one day? Do you want to paint a big picture for our kids or a small picture for our kids? I don't know, babe. I just want them to be good citizens. Okay. How about us, babe? So this is you. This is kids. How about us? Where do you want us to be together? Babe, this is really scaring me where we're going with this. No, babe, I just want to know, what do you want to be? Who are we going to be? I just want us to be a regular, happily married couple, et cetera, et cetera. What about you, babe? Where are you going with this? Where do you want to be? Babe, let me tell you where I want to be. Here's where I want to be. And this is what I'm struggling with right now. This is my dreams. This is my aspirations. I want us to be here. I want the kids to see a big life. I want them to pursue their dreams. I don't want to have my parents' life. I love them. They did great things for me. You have no idea how much I love them. But I want to make them proud, and I want to take this thing to a whole different level. And I'm struggling right now. What are you struggling with? I'm struggling between compromising to want to live a small life and later on being bitter at you and upset at you because you held me back or my parents held me back, versus having a serious conversation with you and saying, babe, why don't we go for it and put a timeline? Give me 5 years. Give me a 10-year run rate. I'll make you proud. And here's what I want to do. And if we do this together, I'll take the lead. You tell me who you want to be. Let's decide what we can do for the kids so they can have a big life. Here's who we can be. And then we can make our parents proud. What do you think about that, babe? It's a little scary. I know, babe, but I love you. I want to be with you. I want to build a strong family. I just don't want to live a small life. I don't. Do you realize how tough it is to have that conversation with your spouse? Do you know how many grown men I know in their 40s, 50s that have never had this conversation with their spouse? Do you know how many women I have that I've worked with that have massive aspirations? They can't have this conversation. They're afraid. So you know what they do? The first position I talked to you about, which is what? You know what? I'll just do what they want me to do and I'll conform. Years ago, my wife said, I said, babe, what's going on? I said, babe, I've always wanted to be a poet. Really? Yeah. Okay. I asked her, what do you want to be? We had this conversation years ago. Why don't you take a poetry class and see where this can go? You're serious? Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, I went online and I looked up the best poetry class in LA. It was UCLA. Found a professor. I said, here it is. Seriously? She took 9 classes to go see if she wants to be a poet. You know what happened? She wrote a bunch of nice poetry. Never pursued it again. But she got it out of her system. Then we had kids. Babe, do you want to be a stay-home? Do you want to be a career woman? Do you want to have an identity? What do you want to do? I kind of want to do both. I want to be a mother that knows everything about my kids. I want to nurse my kids. I don't want to have it. She's nursed every single one of the kids. She knows every single time she did it for all 3 of them. And she nursed them for 9 to 12 months. That was important to her. But she still was at the office because she wanted a career, because she wanted her own identity. Because we talked, what do you want? And I told her what I want, and I painted a picture of what kind of a thing I want to see, I want to have our kids see, and who we can be. Now, do I know for a fact that marriage is going to be complex and difficult? It's the most difficult thing I've done in my life. I've been married 11 years, and the way I take marriage is 1 year at a time. I don't sit there and say, oh, we're going to be married the rest of our lives. Why put that kind of pressure? 1 year at a time. And you keep trying to improve and improve. Both people are going to change. How do you know? You can't predict the future. You can control you and improving. The reason why I'm having this conversation with you is because if you do choose to live option number 1, ever wonder why so many people say grumpy old men? What are they grumpy about? You ever wonder why they say grumpy old men? What are you grumpy about? We've never done research. Why are grumpy old men grumpy? You don't think a part of it has to do that they're 78 years old thinking they could have made a different decision at 32, but they were afraid and they didn't? You don't think that's a part of it? You don't think when they were 20, they said, I could have teed it up and done something big with my life. I compromised my dreams and now they're bitter to everybody? It's not anybody else's fault. It's not your wife's fault. It's not your husband's fault. You didn't have the guts to have that conversation with your husband or wife. It ain't on your parents or your wife or your in-laws. It's you. Don't blame the kids. Don't blame the wife. Don't blame the husband. Don't blame your parents. Blame your courage. You should have had that conversation. Nobody to point fingers to but you. Sit down, have the talk, or forget about it. But you can't do one or the other. You're going to be miserable. So now, you're watching this. I wasn't expecting a video like this from you today, Pat. This is supposed to be Motivation Monday. I'm quite frankly not motivated. I'm not trying to motivate you. I'm trying to challenge you today to have the tough conversations. And if you're single, you're like, dude, I don't even know what the hell this guy's talking about. I'm not even married. This doesn't apply to you. Share it with somebody that's married. But if you're married with kids, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know it. Yes, you know it. You know it. There you go. You know it. Have the conversation. How old are you right now? How quickly did the last 5 years go by? How quickly did the last 10 years go by? Do you realize how quickly the next 10 is going to go by? Like this. 20. I'm 41. I look right here, my age. This is my age. I look 28 when I look at my hands like this. I look 41 right here. I am aging. Look at this. Look at this. I'm 41. You're aging. Simple combo today. Have the conversation. Oh, and by the way, I got a book recommendation for you. If you've never read the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, I think it's time you go read this book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. I'm not the author. I don't make money off of it. You can buy it anywhere you want. It'll change your life. And on top of that, if you really want to reach your full potential and you want to be challenged even more, go watch this video. If you don't go watch this video because it's going to challenge you even more. Having said that, have a wonderful week this week.